The knife clattered across the diner floor, metal scraping against worn wood. The orphan boy froze, hands shaking, blood smeared across the knuckles of a hand that wasn't his. Eyes darted around the room. Silence stretched, heavy and accusing. The other men at the counter stared, knives and cups forgotten. "Drop it," a deputy barked, voice tight, like he'd swallowed anger whole. The boy swallowed too, tried to comply, but his fingers curled tighter, as if the knife might bite him first. "I didn't pull it," he said, voice trembling. "You always do," someone else spat, leaning over the counter, eyes narrowed. "He's just a kid," whispered a woman, clutching a basket too tightly. "Not that one," the deputy snapped. The sheriff walked in then, slow, deliberate. Every step made the floor creak. He didn't shout. Didn't move toward the boy. He just looked, calm, watching, weighing. The boy's chest rose too fast, his ears ringing with the heat of dozens of unspoken accusations. And then the door at the back creaked, a soft sound that shouldn't have carried over the chaos. She stood there, quiet, arms folded, a figure too small to command attention yet somehow impossible to ignore. She didn't speak. She just watched. "You gonna stand there all day," the deputy said, shifting his weight. "Or are you gonna take responsibility for him?" The boy flinched, expecting a hand, a slap, some immediate punishment. Nothing came. She stepped forward, slow, measured. Every eye in the diner followed her, distrust hanging thick in the air. "I'll take him," she said finally, voice soft but certain, carrying weight that didn't belong to her size. A murmur ran through the room. The sheriff blinked once. "You sure?" he asked. "Yes," she said. "You know what he is." "I know what he isn't," she replied. The boy's mouth opened, then shut. He didn't trust the words. He didn't trust the calm. His fists unclenched, then clenched again, as if testing whether control was real. He didn't move when she held the door open. The deputy muttered something under his breath. The sheriff shook his head slightly. The other men in the diner leaned back into their chairs, muttering, grumbling, judging. The boy finally stepped forward, one foot, then the other, knife still in hand, eyes flicking between her face and the floor. No one said a word as she gestured to the truck outside. No threats. No promises. Only the open door, air heavy with dust and summer heat. He stopped at the threshold, looking back once. The diner seemed to shrink behind him, full of eyes and whispered stories, rumors of violence he hadn't yet committed but already bore. She waited. Steady, silent. He dropped the knife finally, letting it clatter again, letting it stay there without flinching. The sheriff cleared his throat. "Someone needs to take responsibility for him," he said. His eyes were sharp, but they softened briefly at the edge of her presence. She didn't answer. She lifted her hand slightly toward the boy, small motion, almost nothing. That gesture carried more promise than any words could. The boy's jaw loosened. He moved past the diner threshold, past the questioning stares, past the hot dust clinging to every surface. Outside, the truck waited, engine humming low. She opened the passenger door. He climbed in without another word, still cautious, still bracing for betrayal that didn't come. She sat beside him, quiet, eyes forward, hands folded in her lap. The engine roared softly, kicking up dust behind them, and they drove away. The diner faded into the horizon, the voices, the stares, the knife. Silence filled the truck, not empty, but heavy with possibility. And in that silence, the boy realized something he hadn't believed possible. Someone had chosen him. The truck rocked over the dirt road, tires throwing up dust in lazy clouds. The boy's hands gripped the edge of the seat, knuckles white. He glanced at her, measuring, calculating. She didn't look at him. Eyes forward, steady, unblinking. The hum of the engine filled the space between them, heavy and slow. "You sure about this?" he asked, voice rough, more accusation than question. "I am," she said, voice quiet, calm. "You know what I am," he said, sneering, twisting his hands in his lap. "And you know what you aren't," she replied, flat. Silence. Only the truck and the dirt beneath it. The boy's mind raced, imagining the town chasing him down the road, shouting, throwing rocks, calling him wild, dangerous, doomed. He wanted to run. He wanted to scream. But something in her quiet made him pause. "You think they'll let you do this?" he asked finally. "They won't stop me," she said. "Not stop you? Or not care?" He laughed bitterly. The sound scraped the air. "They'll call the sheriff. They'll come. They already came," she said. Her tone didn't shift. Her hand rested on the wheel, steady, unwavering. "And I didn't move. And I won't." The boy stared at her hand, then at her eyes, searching for a trap. "Why me?" "Because someone has to," she said. He tried to challenge her, tried to speak, but the words died in his throat. They traveled in silence, the kind that stretched and stretched until it became almost unbearable. The boy's chest rose and fell, slow, shallow, suspicious. "You could change your mind," he said finally. "Leave me here." "I won't," she said. "You don't even know me," he spat. "I know enough," she said. "I know enough to keep you from getting lost." He shook his head, laughed, a short, harsh sound. "Lost? I've been lost my whole life. And I've been looking for someone to take responsibility," she said. No pause. No pity. Just facts, sharp and unyielding. He leaned back, silent for a long moment, thinking, testing. He glanced out the window at the barren landscape, the fences, the endless dust, and then back at her. No expression changed. She didn't flinch. Didn't blink. Didn't speak another word. Finally, he said, "You could be wrong." "I might be," she said. "Then why?" "Because I'd rather be wrong trying than right standing by," she said, voice steady. The boy's lips pressed together, jaw tight. He wanted to argue. Wanted to strike. Wanted to bolt. He did none of it. He shifted slightly in his seat and watched her, silent, cautious, unready to believe, yet unable to deny the pull of her certainty. The town's shadows stretched behind them, fading into the heat haze. Dust clung to everything, thick and stubborn. The truck rolled on, each mile a boundary left behind, each bump a small reminder that the world outside could wait for now. He finally asked, soft, almost a whisper, "You'll really keep me?" "I will," she said. And in that instant, the boy felt something unfamiliar. Something that made his chest tighten and his stomach ache. Not trust. Not yet. But a fragile, dangerous sense of possibility. A quiet hand stretched toward him, steady, unwavering, and he let it brush against the edge of his fear, not knowing if he could hold on, but willing to try. The truck hummed on, leaving the town behind. The truck stopped in front of the house. Sun slanted through the sparse trees, dust settling on the porch like thin ash. The boy's hands itched, expecting resistance, punishment, a fight he didn't know how to win. She opened the door, stepping aside. No welcome, no lecture, just the quiet expectation that he would enter. He hesitated. "This it?" he asked, voice sharp. "It's home for now," she said. He stepped over the threshold, boots creaking against the old wooden floor. The smell of wood and laundry and faint iron clung to everything. Quiet settled around him, heavier than the town's accusations, but different. Not threatening. Observant. Patient. "You gonna lock me in?" he asked, glancing at the door. "No," she said. "Why not?" "Because I don't lock doors," she said, her eyes scanning the room, noting the dust on the windowsill, the crooked picture frame, the way light pooled on the floor. He shook his head. "Everyone locks doors. Everyone." "Not me," she said. "Not here." The boy's jaw tightened. He wanted to fight, wanted to test the rules that weren't written, the boundaries she didn't name. He let his fists clench, imagined them swinging, imagined the yelling, imagined the chaos that always followed. None came. Only her quiet presence, steady, unmoving. He wandered through the rooms, brushing hands against walls, doors, the edge of the counter. Nothing snapped at him. Nothing barked orders. He stopped in the kitchen, watching her set down a bowl of food on the table. She didn't ask, didn't invite, didn't command. She just placed it there. "You eat that?" he asked, suspicious. "You'll eat it if you're hungry," she said. He scowled, picking at the edge of the bread, half expecting it to bite back. It didn't. "Your place smells like nothing," he said. "Nothing keeps people alive," she said. He flinched at her words, didn't know why. They were too plain, too sharp. He stayed silent, eyes on the floor, waiting for the storm he thought would come, the punishment that always followed his mistakes. It never did. At night, he left his boots on, knife under his pillow, expecting a hand to shake him awake, a voice to shout, a world to collapse on him. She moved through the house quietly, humming to herself in some broken, low melody. He listened, strained, and caught the tremor in her tone, the sadness in the pauses, but no anger. No blame. In the small dark hours, he heard her cry behind a closed door. Not loud. Not demanding attention. Just a soft, ragged sound. He froze, realizing for the first time that someone could hurt without making it yours. Someone could be sad without punishing you. He thought of the town. The diner. The knife on the floor. The voices. All of it had chased him, branded him. Here, in this quiet house, nothing did. He shifted in the floorboards, letting the faint light from the window brush across his face. He didn't speak. He didn't move. He just listened. Outside, the wind stirred the old trees. Dust settled on the porch. He felt it all, every accusation, every rumor, every fear, still heavy but somehow muted. She had not said a word about what he had done. Had not asked. Had not demanded. She only waited. And in that waiting, he began to wonder if maybe, just maybe, there was a place where no one had to be wild to survive. The knock came early, sharp against the front door. The boy froze, hands hovering over the counter, ready for a fight he didn't know how to start. The sound echoed in the quiet house like a warning. She didn't flinch. She moved to the door, steady, calm. "Who is it?" he asked, voice low, wary. "The sheriff," she said. He cursed under his breath. Figures. The door creaked open. The sheriff's boots scuffed the floorboards, dust clinging to leather. His hat shadowed his eyes. He didn't smile. He didn't wait. "Morning," he said. His voice measured. "Heard you took him." "I did," she said. No hesitation. No apology. "You know he's trouble," he said, glancing at the boy. "Everywhere he goes, problems follow." "I know," she said. "And I can handle it." He laughed, low, bitter. "Handle it? You've never raised a child in your life. You don't know what he's capable of." "Maybe not," she said, voice calm. "But I know what I can do. And what I won't let happen." The boy shifted behind her, knife still hidden in the waistband of his pants. He wanted to argue. Wanted to shout. Wanted to run back to the town where he could at least predict the chaos. But he didn't. He stayed quiet. "Why him?" the sheriff asked, eyes narrowing. "Why not put him in the home, like everyone says?" "Because someone has to care," she said. "Care doesn't change who he is," he said. "Care doesn't stop the fire that follows him." "Maybe not," she said. "But it can stop the next one." The boy's chest tightened. She never spoke of the past, never admitted what the town whispered. But the sheriff did. Every word was a threat, a reminder, a shadow of the life he'd tried to outrun. "He's too wild," the sheriff said. "The town doesn't forget. They'll come looking." "They'll come," she said. "And they'll leave. I'll make sure of it." He glanced at her, wondering if she could actually do it. If she had the strength. If she would break under the weight of their judgment. She didn't. Not yet. The sheriff's hand rested briefly on the doorframe. "You sure you want this?" "I am," she said. Her voice left no room for argument. "Just remember," he said, voice dropping, "I've seen what happens to people who take him in. It doesn't end well." "I know," she said. "And I won't let it." The boy's eyes narrowed. He wanted to speak, to challenge, to warn her that she didn't understand, that she would burn for this choice. He stayed silent, letting the words sit between them. Finally, the sheriff turned, boots thudding against the boards, dust rising behind him. "Don't say I didn't warn you," he muttered. The door closed. Silence fell again. The house seemed smaller, tighter, heavier. The boy looked at her, waiting for an explanation, an apology, a sign of weakness. She only went back to the counter, arranging the cups, humming softly under her breath, as if the world outside had no weight here. He didn't move. Didn't speak. He let the quiet settle over him, let it stretch, let it hold. He understood now that the town's eyes, the whispers, the warnings, they would follow him. But here, in this house, someone had chosen him anyway. And that was a start. The boy stood in the kitchen, hands twitching, eyes flicking to the chipped counter. She handed him a rag, silent, letting him wait for instructions he knew wouldn't come. He shifted, reluctant, but he did as she indicated, wiping the dust off the table, the edges of the stove, the worn wooden floor. His movements were rough, uneven, like a wild animal learning to walk on its own feet. "You missed a spot," she said, calm, not angry, not mocking. "I don't care," he snapped, voice sharp. "You do," she said. He froze. "I don't." "Yes, you do," she said. Her hands moved to the sink, washing a cup she'd already cleaned. Quiet, methodical. The boy watched, trying to catch a flaw, expecting the slightest misstep. There was none. "Why don't you hit me?" he asked suddenly, voice low, curious and bitter. "Hit you," she said. "You don't yell. Don't punish. Don't anything." "I won't," she said. Simple, firm. He shook his head, frowning. "Everyone else does. You don't." "Why?" "Because I don't need to," she said. He didn't move, didn't respond. His hands shook, still gripping the rag, imagining the violence that always came when people thought they had control. He waited. Expected the slap, the push, the shout. It never came. "Do I have to do this?" he asked finally, voice barely above a whisper. "Yes," she said. He huffed, muttering, kicking at the floorboards. "I'm not gonna." "Yes, you are," she interrupted. "Because it's your turn to care for something that doesn't scream." He paused, confused. "Care?" "Yes." "Care," she said. Her eyes met his, steady, unblinking. "It's part of staying alive." He snorted, shaking his head. "I don't need lessons from anyone." "Maybe not," she said. "But you'll survive them better." He picked up another dish, dropped it again, flinched as it clattered. He expected a shout. Expected anger. She didn't speak. Only waited. Only held the silence, letting him see the consequences weren't always fire and fists. Later, he sat on the porch, hands scuffed, knees dirted, watching the house settle around him. She brought a bowl of stew, placed it in front of him, didn't sit, didn't ask questions. He ate silently, glancing at her. She hummed a low tune as she moved back inside, folding laundry, washing floors, carrying water. Every movement deliberate, precise, calm. He didn't speak for a long time. He thought about the town, the diner, the knife on the floor, the sheriff's warnings. And he realized he was learning something new. Not how to fight. Not how to run. Not how to survive chaos. But how to exist in quiet, how to be present without hurting, how to let someone care without fearing it as a trap. By the time he went to bed, knife tucked under his pillow, boots at the edge of the mattress, he felt something shift. Not trust fully, not yet. But a small, fragile understanding that not every hand raised against you wanted to break you. And for the first time in years, he didn't flinch. The old well sat at the edge of the yard, rim cracked, moss clinging to the stones. The boy hesitated, hands in his pockets, eyes scanning the dark water at the bottom. She stood beside him, silent, letting the wind ruffle her skirt, letting the dust swirl around their boots. The world beyond the yard seemed to shrink, pressing in with memories he thought he had buried. "Don't shout into it," she said quietly. "Why not?" he asked, voice sharp, curiosity mixed with suspicion. "It throws things back," she said. "Like what?" He leaned closer to the edge, staring into the black, imagining faces, hands, screams. "Voices," she said. "Things you've tried to forget. Things that follow you even when no one is looking." He flinched, imagining the town, the diner, the knife, his mother's face, the screams he thought he had escaped. "I don't believe you." "You will," she said. He stayed silent, peering into the well. He thought he heard a cry, high and sharp, echoing from the depths. He jumped back. "What was that?" "Nothing you can't handle," she said. "Nothing?" he spat, bitterness sharp on his tongue. "You think nothing can touch me?" She didn't answer. She only waited, letting him wrestle with the sound and its memory. He crouched near the edge, gripping the stones. "It's her," he whispered. "I hear my mother." "Do you?" she asked, voice soft, almost like she wanted to hear the truth. "Yeah," he said. "Every time I close my eyes." She nodded, slowly, as if confirming something he hadn't dared to admit. "She's gone," she said. "But some things stay." He glared at her. "You don't know that." "I do," she said. "I lost someone too." The words hung in the air, fragile, heavy. He froze. "Who?" "My child," she said softly. "A long time ago." He stared, speechless, hands trembling. "They blamed you?" "Yes," she said. "They blamed me anyway. And I survived it." He swallowed, trying to understand, trying to measure the weight of her calm. She didn't flinch. She didn't turn away. She only let him see the memory, the sorrow, and the quiet strength that carried her forward. He dropped to the ground, hands resting on the dirt. "Why tell me?" "Because someone has to know the world can be cruel," she said. "And someone has to learn that surviving it doesn't always mean hurting others." He said nothing. He stared at the moss on the stones, at the water black as ink. He thought of every scar, every wound, every time he had flinched at a shadow, every time the town had called him wild. He felt the weight of it all, but here, standing beside her, the weight seemed less sharp, somehow. Finally, he asked, voice trembling, almost whisper, "Do you hear them too?" "Sometimes," she said. "But I've learned to listen without letting them control me." He nodded slowly. The wind tugged at his hair. The well's dark depths seemed endless, memory-laden, alive. He felt a shiver run through him, a fear that was old and familiar, but softened by the quiet presence at his side. He stayed there, letting the silence settle, letting the house, the yard, and the well keep their secrets for now. And for the first time, he wondered if some things from the past could be faced without breaking. The knock came heavy, deliberate, echoing through the quiet house. The boy froze near the counter, hands gripping the edge, muscles tight. He hadn't expected him so soon. The sheriff. His presence carried the weight of the town, of judgment, of the past pressing into the walls. She moved to the door, steady, calm, letting the boy linger in the shadow. "Morning," the sheriff said, tipping his hat, boots scraping the wooden floor. "I hear you've taken him in." "Yes," she said, voice firm. No hesitation. No apology. "You know the rules," he said, eyes scanning the boy like a ledger, weighing sins, calculating danger. "He comes with baggage. Trouble follows him. Always." "I know," she said. Her calm didn't waver. "You think you can handle it?" His tone was sharp, testing. "You're not experienced. You don't know what this boy can do. What he's capable of." "I know enough," she said, voice quiet but cutting. "And I won't let him destroy himself or anyone else." The boy shifted behind her, glancing at the floor. Knife tucked under his waistband, he felt the tension press against his ribs. He wanted to protest, to strike, to scream. He stayed silent, waiting, watching, measuring. The sheriff leaned against the doorframe, shadow cutting across his face. "I can make this legal," he said, producing a stack of papers. "Give me your word, and the courts will recognize him under your care. Permanently." "I don't want your favor," she said. Her hands remained folded, expression unwavering. "I care for him because I choose to, not because of law or papers or recognition." "You're making this dangerous," he said, voice low now, sharp as a knife. "One wrong move and it all comes down on you. On him. On the house." "Then I'll bear it," she said. Simple. Flat. Unflinching. The boy's stomach twisted. He looked at the papers, then at her, trying to gauge the risk. "They'll find out," he said quietly. "About the fire." "They already know," she said. Her eyes didn't shift. "I just won't let it define us. Or you." The sheriff's jaw tightened. "You can't control everything." "You can't." "I can control what happens inside these walls," she interrupted. "And I will." He stared at her, realizing the depth of her resolve. He wanted to argue, to warn her that she didn't understand, that authority had its claws, that power could crush hope. But she didn't waver. Not once. Finally, he slammed the papers onto the table. "Don't say I didn't warn you," he muttered, stepping back, boots heavy against the floorboards. Dust rose around him like a halo of judgment. The door closed. Silence returned, heavy and deliberate. The boy looked at her, searching for explanation, for fear, for regret. She only returned to the counter, picking up the cups, humming softly under her breath, as if the house's walls could shield them from everything else. He stayed quiet, watching her, realizing that she had chosen this life, chosen him, and chosen to face the sheriff's threats without flinching. The weight of her decision pressed against him, heavy but steady, teaching him something he hadn't known: courage could exist without noise. Strength could exist without fists. And trust could exist even when the world outside wanted to burn it down. Outside, the wind stirred the dry leaves. The sheriff's boots faded down the road, but the weight of his warning lingered. Inside, the house hummed with routine, quiet and steady. The boy sank onto the floor, fists unclenched for the first time that day. He didn't speak. He didn't move. He simply watched her, understanding, finally, that someone could choose to protect him and mean it. The morning light filtered through the dusty windows, painting lines across the floorboards. The boy sat on the edge of the bed, boots on, knife hidden in the waistband of his pants, waiting. Waiting for the voice that would shout, the hand that would strike, the world to crash down around him. None came. She moved quietly around the kitchen, humming softly, setting plates of breakfast on the table. "You gonna eat that?" he asked, suspicion curling his tone like smoke. "You'll eat it if you're hungry," she said. He muttered, leaning back in the chair, watching her. The house was quiet, predictable. Too predictable. He shifted, trying to find some flaw, some sign that control could return, that the chaos he knew would spill in. There was none. "You could leave," he said finally, voice low, testing. "Go back to town." "And miss this," she said, dry, without turning. "I mean it," he said. "You could send me away any time." "I won't," she said. "Why not?" His voice trembled with disbelief, suspicion, and curiosity all at once. "Because someone has to stay," she said. Her hands moved over the dishes, her motion steady, deliberate. "And someone has to learn what it means to belong somewhere, even when the world tells you it's impossible." He frowned, shifting in the chair, trying to catch her in a lie, in weakness. There wasn't one. He picked at the edge of the bread, scowling. "Belonging doesn't change what I am." "Maybe not," she said. "But it can change what you do next." He stared, uncertain, the words pressing against his chest. He wanted to resist, to run, to argue. But the calm, steady presence of her waiting, unshaken, silent yet powerful, made the anger fall away, slow and unsteady. "You mean I don't have to fight all the time?" he asked quietly. "No," she said. Not here. Not with me. He shifted, glancing at the floor, at the walls, at the dust in the sunlight. He had spent years flinching at shadows, imagining threats in every corner. Here, the threats were muted, held at bay. Here, he could exist without constant defense. "Then I stay," he said finally, almost a whisper, testing the truth in his own words. "You stay," she said. Her voice softened only slightly. "Because it's your choice. Not because you have to. Not because anyone demands it." The boy let the words sink. He stayed seated at the table, watching her, absorbing the rhythm of the house, the quiet rules she never stated, the unspoken care she offered. Slowly, cautiously, he let his fists unclench. Slowly, cautiously, he let his body relax. Outside, the wind moved the dry leaves in slow circles. The sunlight reached into the corners of the room, brushing the dust, the floorboards, the chipped paint, making everything seem less sharp, less dangerous. The boy ate quietly, swallowing the bread, swallowing the silence, and for the first time, let himself believe that he could stay. Not just here. Not just for a day. But long enough to begin something new. The house hummed softly around him, steady, enduring, protective. And for the first time in his life, he didn't move to fight it. He stayed. She moved through the house with quiet purpose, hands brushing the edges of drawers, the dust on shelves, the old floors that creaked under her weight. The boy followed at a distance, curiosity clawing at him, fingers twitching, eyes darting toward every shadow, every corner. He wanted to ask, but he didn't know what to say. Questions had always led to lies, to anger, to punishment. Here, he waited. "This one," she said, stopping at a drawer tucked beneath the stairs. She slid it open slowly, deliberately, as if the contents demanded reverence. Inside lay stacks of yellowed letters, edges frayed, ink faded but still sharp enough to bite. "What is it?" he asked, voice low, wary. "Truth," she said. "Old truth. Things people thought they buried." He leaned closer. "Letters? From who?" "From them," she said, not explaining, letting the mystery press against him. "People who thought they could control everything. People who thought they could rewrite history. People who were wrong." He picked one up, trembling. The handwriting was familiar, precise, cruel in the simplicity of its words. "They killed him," he whispered. "Yes," she said. "Calm. Fact. No emotion." The words hung between them, heavy, impossible to ignore. He slammed the letter back into the pile. "Why keep these? Why not burn them?" "Because memory is a weapon," she said. "Because forgetting doesn't erase guilt. Because someday, someone might need to know who we are. And who we were." He swallowed, heart thudding. "Do you mean, the sheriff?" "Not just him," she said. "All of them. The town. The law. People who hide behind badges and doors and polite smiles." The boy's hands shook. He looked around the house, at the quiet walls, at the sunlight falling in straight lines, at the dust motes drifting in golden shafts. He realized the weight of it all. Not just the fire, not just the knife, not just the town's whispers. History followed you. Blood followed you. Secrets followed you. "Why tell me now?" he asked. Voice tight, curious, suspicious. "Because you're staying," she said. "Because you need to know the world is not just shadows. It's also truths. And sometimes, knowing is the only way to survive." He bent closer, studying a letter, reading the words that spelled betrayal, corruption, land stolen, deaths that had been labeled accidents. His stomach churned. "They lied," he said. "Yes," she said. "They did." He looked at her, trying to measure the anger, the pain, the calculation behind her calm. "What do we do?" "Survive," she said. "Learn. Protect ourselves. Make sure it doesn't happen again. And when it does, make sure it doesn't destroy us." The boy sank to the floor, clutching the letters, feeling the weight of every accusation, every secret, every story that had been hidden for years. He realized for the first time that the house wasn't just shelter. It was a repository of memory, a fortress of truths, a place that held the past so it wouldn't swallow them both alive. Outside, the wind rattled the old shutters. The shadows of the trees stretched across the floor. The boy's hands shook, not from fear, but from the clarity of understanding. "They're coming for us," he said quietly. "They already are," she said. And she didn't flinch. The boy looked at her, at the letters, at the walls that had seen so much, and he understood something he hadn't before: danger wasn't always loud. Sometimes it was written. Sometimes it was hidden. And sometimes, survival meant learning the weight of old bones before facing the new ones. He stayed on the floor, letters in hand, silent, listening. Waiting. Learning. The knock started soft, almost polite, but the second one slammed like a fist. The boy froze, eyes darting to the shadows, hands brushing the edge of the counter where a knife had once rested. She didn't flinch. She moved toward the door, calm, measured. The wind outside carried the smell of dust and smoke from somewhere distant, a warning he didn't yet understand. "Who's there?" he demanded, voice sharper than he intended. "Sheriff," came the reply. Flat, firm, deliberate. "Open up. Now." She didn't answer. She only rested her hand on the doorframe, fingers splayed, steady. "Step aside," the sheriff barked. Boots scuffed the floorboards, dust puffing with each movement. "This ends today." "It doesn't have to," she said, voice calm. Not pleading. Not defiant. Just stating a fact. The boy's stomach churned. He wanted to yell. Wanted to bolt. Wanted the world to obey the rules he had learned in the streets. But the housekeeper stood like a wall, and he stayed put, watching. "You think you can protect him?" the sheriff asked, voice low, dangerous. "You think you can stop what's coming?" "I can stop it inside this house," she said. Her voice didn't waver. "I won't let anyone take him or break him. Not while I'm here." He shifted behind her, hands tightening at his sides, knife pressed against his thigh. He wanted to leap forward, strike first, defend. She put a hand lightly on his shoulder. He froze. Not gentle. Not weak. Just a weight, grounding him, telling him he didn't have to do this alone. The sheriff laughed, low, bitter. "You think paper and walls mean anything? I've seen houses burn. I've seen families crushed. Do you know what happens when you stand in the way?" "Then I'll see it," she said. "And I'll survive it. And he will too." He heard the rasp of a match, small and almost invisible. The smell of smoke curled through the cracks in the door. He glanced down, eyes widening. A small flame caught on the edge of a curtain, licking up the fabric like it knew the secrets hidden inside. "Get out," he shouted, instinct and fear rising. "I'm not leaving," she said. "Then I stay," he said, voice trembling. Not begging. Not challenging. Stating. Flames grew, swallowing the corners of the room, reaching toward the ceiling. Smoke curled, thick and choking. The boy pressed himself against the floor, coughing, eyes stinging. She moved calmly, methodically, opening windows, guiding him past the heat, past the fire that threatened to consume everything. "You okay?" she asked, voice steady. "Yeah," he rasped. "I think so." "Then listen," she said. "We do what we must. Not what they tell us. Not what they fear. What we decide." Outside, the house blazed quietly, the flames consuming wood and memory alike, but the boy and the housekeeper were still intact, still standing in the yard, breathing in the smoky dusk. He looked at her, understanding something he hadn't before: strength wasn't loud. Courage wasn't fire. It was calm, it was deliberate, it was staying when everything tried to pull you away. The sheriff's voice called from down the road, distant but sharp, but he didn't move. Didn't intervene. The flames reflected in his eyes, and he understood this house, this sanctuary, was no longer just walls and wood. It was a choice. A claim. And it wasn't leaving. The boy felt his chest tighten, not from fear, but from clarity. He didn't flinch. He didn't move. He only stayed, side by side with her, letting the smoke curl around them, letting the fire burn what needed burning, letting the quiet hold them. And for the first time, he realized that survival didn't always mean running. Sometimes, it meant standing, together, in the heart of the storm. The fire had burned itself down to embers. Smoke lingered in the yard, curling around the boy's boots, drifting into the corners of the house that survived. He stood silent, hands in his pockets, staring at the scorched wood, the blackened trim, the memories etched into every singed surface. "You okay?" she asked, voice quiet, measured. She leaned against the porch post, arms crossed, eyes on the horizon. "I don't know," he said, voice rough. "Everything feels different." "It should," she said. "The past doesn't get to decide your present." He shifted, kicking at a loose stone. "The town, they'll remember. The sheriff. The letters. The fire. Everyone. And they'll remember whether you learn something from it," she said. "Whether you carry forward or let it crush you. That's what matters." He looked at her, unsure if she meant words or something deeper. He thought of the knife, the well, the letters, the smoke curling around the house like fingers trying to pull him back into fear. "I don't know if I can," he said finally. "You can," she said. "You already have. You stayed. You listened. You learned. That's more than most ever do." He crouched down, tracing a charred line in the porch wood with his finger. "It feels heavy." "It is," she said. "But not all weight is meant to break you. Some of it teaches you how to stand." He swallowed. The words made him ache. Not from fear. Not from anger. From something quiet and strange, possibility. "Do I have to carry it all?" he asked, voice barely above a whisper. "No," she said. "Just what matters. The rest? Leave it here. Let it stay in the smoke and the letters and the fire. Don't drag it forward. Only take what you need to survive. Only take what helps you be better than the world expects." He leaned back, glancing at the yard, at the trees, at the horizon streaked with sunlight and smoke. He realized he could see the town in the distance, but it didn't reach him here. Not entirely. Not yet. "I don't know how to be like that," he said. "Then learn," she said. "One choice at a time. One moment at a time. That's enough." He nodded slowly. Hands unclenched. Shoulders sagged just slightly. He had spent years bracing for chaos, preparing for destruction, expecting betrayal in every gesture. Now, he let a small, fragile piece of calm fill the cracks. "I want to try," he said finally, voice quiet but firm. "That's all I ask," she said. Her eyes softened, only slightly, but it was enough. He glanced back at the charred house, at the embers glowing faintly, letting them remind him of what had been lost, of what had been survived, of what could still be rebuilt. The boy realized he carried more than fire and fear. He carried choice. Trust. Understanding. And maybe, for the first time, hope. "Then we start tomorrow," she said. "Chores. Lessons. Living. All of it." He exhaled, a long, quiet breath, and nodded. "Tomorrow," he said. The smoke rose around them, lightening with the wind. The house hummed quietly behind them, intact, resilient. And for the first time, he didn't flinch at the shadows. He didn't clutch the knife. He didn't brace for chaos. He only stayed. And he knew that whatever came next, he carried forward not just the weight of what had been done to him, but the strength to survive it differently. "You think you can protect him?" the sheriff asked, voice low, dangerous. "You think you can stop what's coming?" "I can stop it inside this house," she said. Her voice didn't waver. "I won't let anyone take him or break him. Not while I'm here." He shifted behind her, hands tightening at his sides, knife pressed against his thigh. He wanted to leap forward, strike first, defend. She put a hand lightly on his shoulder. He froze. Not gentle. Not weak. Just a weight, grounding him, telling him he didn't have to do this alone. The sheriff laughed, low, bitter. You think paper and walls mean anything? I've seen houses burn. I've seen families crushed. Do you know what happens when you stand in the way? Then I'll see it, she said. And I'll survive it. And he will too. He heard the rasp of a match, small and almost invisible. The smell of smoke curled through the cracks in the door. He glanced down, eyes widening. A small flame caught on the edge of a curtain, licking up the fabric like it knew the secrets hidden inside. Get out, he shouted, instinct and fear rising. I'm not leaving, she said. Then I stay, he said, voice trembling. Not begging. Not challenging. Stating. Flames grew, swallowing the corners of the room, reaching toward the ceiling. Smoke curled, thick and choking. The boy pressed himself against the floor, coughing, eyes stinging. She moved calmly, methodically, opening windows, guiding him past the heat, past the fire that threatened to consume everything. You okay? She asked, voice steady. Yeah, he rasped. I think so. Then listen, she said. We do what we must. Not what they tell us. Not what they fear. What we decide. Outside, the house blazed quietly, the flames consuming wood and memory alike, but the boy and the housekeeper were still intact, still standing in the yard, breathing in the smoky dusk. He looked at her, understanding something he hadn't before. Strength wasn't loud. Courage wasn't fire. It was calm, it was deliberate, it was staying when everything tried to pull you away. The sheriff's voice called from down the road, distant but sharp, but he didn't move. Didn't intervene. The flames reflected in his eyes, and he understood this house, this sanctuary, was no longer just walls and wood. It was a choice. A claim. And it wasn't leaving. The boy felt his chest tighten, not from fear, but from clarity. He didn't flinch. He didn't move. He only stayed, side by side with her, letting the smoke curl around them, letting the fire burn what needed burning, letting the quiet hold them. And for the first time, he realized that survival didn't always mean running. Sometimes, it meant standing, together, in the heart of the storm. The fire had burned itself down to embers. Smoke lingered in the yard, curling around the boy's boots, drifting into the corners of the house that survived. He stood silent, hands in his pockets, staring at the scorched wood, the blackened trim, the memories etched into every singed surface. You okay? She asked, voice quiet, measured. She leaned against the porch post, arms crossed, eyes on the horizon. I don't know, he said, voice rough. Everything feels different. It should, she said. The past doesn't get to decide your present. He shifted, kicking at a loose stone. The town, they'll remember. The sheriff. The letters. The fire. Everyone. And they'll remember whether you learn something from it, she said. Whether you carry forward or let it crush you. That's what matters. He looked at her, unsure if she meant words or something deeper. He thought of the knife, the well, the letters, the smoke curling around the house like fingers trying to pull him back into fear. I don't know if I can, he said finally. You can, she said. You already have. You stayed. You listened. You learned. That's more than most ever do. He crouched down, tracing a charred line in the porch wood with his finger. It feels heavy. It is, she said. But not all weight is meant to break you. Some of it teaches you how to stand. He swallowed. The words made him ache. Not from fear. Not from anger. From something quiet and strange, possibility. Do I have to carry it all? He asked, voice barely above a whisper. No, she said. Just what matters. The rest? Leave it here. Let it stay in the smoke and the letters and the fire. Don't drag it forward. Only take what you need to survive. Only take what helps you be better than the world expects. He leaned back, glancing at the yard, at the trees, at the horizon streaked with sunlight and smoke. He realized he could see the town in the distance, but it didn't reach him here. Not entirely. Not yet. I don't know how to be like that, he said. Then learn, she said. One choice at a time. One moment at a time. That's enough. He nodded slowly. Hands unclenched. Shoulders sagged just slightly. He had spent years bracing for chaos, preparing for destruction, expecting betrayal in every gesture. Now, he let a small, fragile piece of calm fill the cracks. I want to try, he said finally, voice quiet but firm. That's all I ask, she said. Her eyes softened, only slightly, but it was enough. He glanced back at the charred house, at the embers glowing faintly, letting them remind him of what had been lost, of what had been survived, of what could still be rebuilt. The boy realized he carried more than fire and fear. He carried choice. Trust. Understanding. And maybe, for the first time, hope. Then we start tomorrow, she said. Chores. Lessons. Living. All of it. He exhaled, a long, quiet breath, and nodded. Tomorrow, he said. The smoke rose around them, lightening with the wind. The house hummed quietly behind them, intact, resilient. And for the first time, he didn't flinch at the shadows. He didn't clutch the knife. He didn't brace for chaos. He only stayed. And he knew that whatever came next, he carried forward not just the weight of what had been done to him, but the strength to survive it differently.